January this year, so 2024, I eventually coughed up and paid for Grammarly Premium to support me with a large project. Until that point, I had been using Grammarly free, and I was very reluctant to do so because I wasn't sure if it was really going to give me the benefits that I needed it to. And I know that lots of other people feel the same. And as I've used it, I've learned a lot about what's good about it and what's not so good about it. And I thought it would be useful to share it with other people. So here goes. And what's good about it? I work on my own and I need an extra pair of eyes on my work. So proofing is a really important part of every writer's job. And as fail-safe as our proofing process can be, it's really important to get a second pair of eyes on your project. Using Grammarly helps to reduce the amount of time I spend on my proofing, which makes me more efficient. It also makes my work more accurate. So it kind of just helps to make my work faster. Works in multiple formats. So I write mainly in Word. I occasionally write in Google Sheets. What's really nice is that Grammarly works in both of those and gives me a consistent level of feedback throughout. So it's kind of quite easy and low friction for me to work in. What's also fab is that it works in my emails, it works in my WordPress, it works in social media. It also, and this is amazing, it works in spreadsheets. So often I have to write for my clients, maybe if I'm writing product copy or socials, I'll write them in spreadsheets. And it's really difficult to proof when you're writing in a spreadsheet. Grammarly does that for me, and that is amazing. Gives you an emotion badge. It doesn't always do this, but in some occasions, and I can't work out when it does and when it doesn't, but it'll give you a little bit of a smiley face or a sad face or a grumpy face, depending on what you're writing. And that is just useful, I guess, to make you aware, okay, is my writing kind of hitting the right tone in terms of what I wanted to do? There is an AI improve my writing tool. So there's like a little magic wand and you can click on that and ask it to do things for you. Now, I don't really use it a lot, but every now and then, if it's the end of the week or the end of the day or I'm feeling a bit tired, it can be a little bit tricky. I look at a sentence and I'm like, that doesn't look right to me. How do I change it? And after looking at it for a few minutes, I might just ask Grammarly to give me some suggestions. And it may not give me a suggestion that I want to use, but it does spark some alternative thoughts. And in that respect, I use it a little bit like somebody else sitting next to me. So as you might do if you're working in an office and you're like, oh, can you think of another way to say this? Or does this sentence sound quite right to you? It kind of performs that function, which is really, really helpful when you're sat in an office all on your own. What isn't so great about it? It doesn't pick up on every error, which, if you're relying on it to proof for you, is a flaw, really. There are times when I've gone through it and there have been typos, or maybe I've added the in twice, which is something I do quite commonly, or perhaps I've capitalized a word that shouldn't be capitalized and it won't have picked up on it. So I'm going through and finding that myself, which is obviously good, and I don't want to rely too much on Grammarly Premium, but that is a flaw. It makes mistakes. So it does make grammatical errors. Sometimes it doesn't just understand what I'm trying to say. So this is not because I'm writing anything particularly complex. It just doesn't have that nuance. It doesn't have the understanding of the way in which language works in the same way that a human does. And I've got a few examples in the blog for you to have a look at, but there are just a few sentences and instances where I'm like, no, this sentence absolutely is correct, but it's giving me a completely different interpretation of the way in which the words are being used. It's quite dangerous because as a professional writer, I have the confidence to know that, yes, this is correct. Don't leave me alone, Grammarly Premium, leave me alone. But if maybe you don't have that confidence in your writing, or you're maybe you're not maybe English isn't your first language, maybe you're just somebody who's not all over English and writing. Maybe you're all into the numbers and the detail that you have to write as part of your job. And I think that is a flaw of Grammarly, quite a major one. Really, really conventional. So if you're writing for, say, professional services, or you're writing for a corporate environment, that's really good. If you're writing in a more creative manner or something that's a little bit more idiomatic, I think that it could be a little too restrictive. Now, obviously, you can ignore the suggestions that Grammarly Premium makes, but it does sometimes feel like you're going, yes, dismiss, 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 because it keeps making all these very proper suggestions. It's a little bit like having a GCSE English teacher sitting on your shoulder instead of having, I don't know, maybe Dylan Thomas there telling you that, yeah, absolutely, you can do that with your writing. So creativity, I think, can take a little bit of a bashing with Grammarly Premium. Oh, and actually, I should say, you can change your settings. This is a thing because it's AI and you can train it. But frankly, I haven't. And so maybe you can teach it to be less conventional, and you can teach it to talk in a more idiomatic tone of voice that fits your brand or your company. The last flaw is a really tiny flaw, but it irritates me. The icon, there's a little G, and it sits on my clock. Obviously, I've got other clocks around, but I kind of want to know what time it is when I'm writing. And for the Grammarly icon to sit on my clock is really annoying. I've tried moving it, it goes back there every time. Tiny mistake, but nevertheless, it's pretty annoying. So in summary, is Grammarly Premium worth it? For me, yes, it saves me oodles of time. It gives me that confidence that my work is that little bit more polished. If you're not super confident with your writing, I don't know if it's the best thing for you because of the way that it gives you false ideas. I'd say that you're perhaps better working with a real human to help you kind of understand where and when you can edit your writing. But I think if you are a mostly competent writer who needs to work more quickly and be assured of the fact that your writing is accurate, then yes, do it. Hope that helps. Any questions, let me know.